How y'all doing? How are you? Hello. It's time for another GD class. Um, yeah, bye-bye, Indian guy. Um, in the description that I put in here, it's interesting because I did the landscape class, and I noticed that, like I said in the description, a lot of people, I noticed that when they did specifically the mountains, that there was a lot of you had some problems with getting the texture right and loosening up. A lot of people were telling me, well, I'm too much of a perfectionist to do this. So I decided to put this class together in order to show you the kind of things you can get with this technique. But you gotta loosen up. You can try it out at the same time. I'm just going to be showing basic techniques using this scribbling method. So there's not really, I don't expect there to be a compo or anything at the end of this, because it's more just working with a certain technique to sort of help you get some nice textures into certain kinds of work that you're doing. So let's start with this. Wait a minute, let me change my topic, because that's just fun. I don't know how often I'm going to crash here. There we go. Ta-da! So here we have just a basic, this is a basic scribble. This is an exercise that I would recommend to get you loosened up, just to get you so that it, yeah, well, exactly. See, this is the thing. You say it looks like trees, Kayla. This is the cool thing, because when you're doing this, you will say, hey, that looks like a, fill in the blank. Your ideas will come to this, or come from this, I should say. And please forgive me, folks, because I'm dealing with a cold, and I am not feeling 100%, so I'm kind of a little brain dead and beyond normal. So I would suggest, interesting you say that, Mad, I would suggest that you use a stylus, because especially I love my Sketch Club stylus. If you don't have a stylus and don't want to spend a lot of money, I highly recommend the Sketch Club stylus. I love the thing. It's got a nice weight to it. The tip is smaller, but if you have a rubber tip stylus, use baby powder. Okay? If you have a rubber tip stylus, use baby powder, because if your tip is dragging, this won't work. You need the tip to just glide really freely as you go. So that being said, excuse my sniffles. I'm going to be doing that a lot. So I have vector, right? We're using the vector tool. We have it in the over mode as opposed to any of these. We're using over. And this is just a basic white background. And I have the gradient set to off. I have the opacity at 100%. You can try other settings. That's the whole point. These aren't, there are no hard and fast rules with this at all. So this exercise is starting to scribble, but going with it's my daughter texting me, to start and go left to right, scribble all over the place, but move across the page left to right. Okay, so we're going to do this basically. Wait, why am I not getting anything? Over, your gradient on. Am I choosing the right layer? No. No, I'm not. There we go. All right, try again. Take two. It is the damn reptilians. That's it. This is the whole class is scribbling, right? And as you scribble, you move across. And just like any direction, anything, it doesn't matter. Circles, you can go backwards a little bit, but just go across and just, up and down. So this is basically how I made this shape you know, just whatever, just cross over, and when you get to the end, you can just underline it and come back. And that leaves you with this thing, right? It just leaves you with this thing. Let's do it again. So you just anything. It's just, here's the exercise. You just, you know, up and down, come down the middle, and it'll suggest things to you. When you know, it doesn't matter. This is all just letting go. You're not worried about an end result at all. You don't worry about anything. Okay? So you can come up with some really interesting things. Here, let's try something. I'll try this one. I'll just go with what I already have right there. And we'll get rid of the top one. Stop it. I'm busy. Okay. Let's work with this one. And let me transform it up a little bit. Nah, we'll leave it. We'll leave it. So let's, you know, Mad said, yeah, go ahead. Go ahead, Mad. You can suggest something, sure. Because now I'm like looking between the things. All right, anyway, I'm getting distracted. All right, so let's work with this a little bit. Mad said it looked like a pirate ship. Well, let's go with that. Let's go with a cargo ship, okay? So you can add to this, and you can add, like, here's where, you know, just scribble it. Just putting in something here, maybe add a little something here. Come up back here, kind of like the end of a boat would be. And you can see that already this is taking shape. It is easy. This really is easy. Yes, exactly. You go back in, and you can even go back in with the other color and shape things. You can erase and fine-tune this as you go. The whole idea is to let it suggest things. And it doesn't matter. You know, you just have to let go of perfection. So, all right, I'll go back to black here. Let's say I don't really want that thing. I'll leave that one. And I would normally, you could use erase, but this is on a white background, so I'm using white. All right, so let's generally put a line down the side here. Let's say that's the edge of the boat, right there. And I'm going back and forth and just scribbling in. And it's leaving a lot of textural detail. You want those little holes and things. So just that fast, we have, just like that, you have a boat. You know, it's just not that hard. You can, like, scribble in some lines here. All right, so maybe that's like some kind of cloth hanging right there. You know, it becomes shadow and light play. This is just one application. I'll show you other applications. But just through the scribbling, and I'm not trying to I'm not trying to go for highly detailed here. And just back like that, maybe put something in here. You know, just a couple of details. I don't want to hang too long on any of this kind of stuff, but you get the idea of what I'm talking about. So in just this little bit of time, there we go. We have some kind of boat. You can put some kind of smokestack on it or something, you know what I mean? If there was like an engine here, you could do that, and even scribble in some kind of smoke, you know, just the suggestion of smoke. The idea is you're not going for photorealism. A lot of people were saying, you know, well, I'm too much of a perfectionist. Well, this is about suggestion. Yep. And let's see, you can, again, just, the other thing that's important to remember in a lot of what I do, how I use this, is that I bring it back, I scribble back and end up where I started. That's a really key thing. Bring it back to where you start. Because otherwise you're going to get some weird straight line that dissects the whole thing. So I bring it back and come back to where I started. You see the way you get the water texture. You can, you know, make little shapes like this, like little smiles, and fill in little waves, and do it quickly or slowly, whatever. But you want to make sure that the tip glides. You got such a... I don't know, robot. Alright. So any questions so far about the general concept here we have going on? Any questions? Alright. Back again, Crasheroni. Yep. Now there's certain... I will... hold on a second. I can see a little more of the chat room now. If you... I'm not the only person that is doing this. There are two other people that I can think of that are in this class right now that if you have questions and want to see this whole technique used in other applications, Viking, or V, is excellent at this technique. In fact, I told him he could skip class because he has it down. He knows this stuff already. He does excellent work with this technique. And Mad uses, if you want to see it done in some other tool but Vector, Mad at Arms. I'd go watch him. Yep, exactly. Those are two people I can think of right off the bat that use this technique to great effect. So okay, so there we have the ship. No, I'm not gonna stop. You're great, man. You're great at this. So all right, so there we did a ship. Okay, this is, if we finish this out, you can end up with something like that. Okay. Yep. So that's the potential that this has. And you can even go in with this, and for instance, one thing I didn't really spend a lot of time, but you can here we go. You know, put reflections and just little suggestions, just little scribblings, you know, or just don't worry about details. Like, for instance, this thing, that came out rather blocky. So what? So what? It doesn't matter. Let go of perfection, and you will get it. So, there you go. That's a very effective way to use it. Okay? Yeah, I pretty much like Vector, Serge. I tend to use Vector a lot. Yep. Vector is and V is very good with the Vector too, especially for his cloth texturing and things like that. So you can feel free to ask him about this kind of stuff too. Yeah, Vector it's like my go-to thing. But Mad uses, what do you use, Mad? Do you use Smooth? Is that the brush you tend to go for? Yeah, if you want to see it done with another kind of application, yeah, Mad uses the Smooth tool, and he just does magic. It's so much fun to watch him work. So this is the potential of what you can do with the technique I just showed you. So here's an abstract I did. Okay? There's nothing coherent here. It looks like a place or something, but it's nothing. This is all just scribbling. I put mirror on. Obviously I have the left to right mirror going. And I scribbled all over the entire surface. As you can see, doesn't matter. I didn't care about any of it. I just wanted to fill up the space. And then I let certain shapes kind of dictate where I wanted shadows. And I played around with some shadows, and there you go. Now you have some kind of environment. You could put, you know, fighting characters in here or whatever. So it's got a lot of potential to just play with this. It's an awesome thing. I'll show you basically what I did. I'll put this down here. And I'll color fill it with white. Oops. I know what I'm doing. I use this program all the time. I know what I'm doing. So basically, this is it. I had mirroring. And I mean, I didn't care. I really didn't care. I was this casual about the whole thing. And then I come down here and do a little something here. You know what I mean? This is the whole thing. This is the whole premise. And that's all I did to fill up the whole space. Is just whatever. It doesn't matter. Just scribble. Just let go of having to control everything. You know? And some of the interesting things that happen. What you want to do, if you want a lot of detail, you want simplify. You want this turned down. You'll get more detail with it with simplify at a low setting. Okay, and the higher you go, I'll show you. Here's with simplify at 0. I draw something very detailed, a very scribbly little line like this, okay? You can see it maintains all the detail, okay? When I turn this up, when I turn simplify, we'll go completely the other opposite side, and here's what it does now. I draw something really detailed, a lot of action going on in there. See what it does? Simplify will take the detail out. So, okay. So that's how I filled up the space at any rate. Let me show you a couple of other techniques. We're going to get into, like for instance, you could use, I don't want to get ahead of myself. Alright, I'm not going to. I'm getting disorganized. So we'll turn that back off, and I'll actually delete that layer. Okay. So in other applications, here's this. This is where I use it. This is where the scribbling really shines, for me anyway, where this vector stuff shines. And this is on a couple of different layers, no big deal. And I'll show you how to do it. I mean, it's not the only thing that isn't scribbled in there are the clouds and the leaves on the tree, the little maple leaves. Those are brushes. And I'm sure, you know, like I said, the scribbling works with other brushes as well. So let me show you how I would approach some of this. This is how I would do a basic landscape, a mountain. Okay? Oh, I can't, wait a minute, I can't do it. I need it on a transparent layer. Yeah, alright, so we'll pick a sky color. We'll do this. I'll show you how I start a landscape. Alright, so there's the sky color. Let me put another layer above that. Now I'm working on a transparent layer. I'll choose like a, I don't know, a greenish, or actually I kind of like brownish sort of mountains. And I have vector on, no gradient, 100%. Simplify, I want the detail down, so I'll keep simplify way low. Okay? And then you just come in and draw a mountain shape. Just whatever, up and down. Again, I don't really care. I'm just going with general things, and you can come in and do a shoreline if you want. If not, you could just trim it off. So there you go. As simple as that. You have a mountain suggestion. Okay? Now, I pick a highlight color. So let's just go with a lighter version of the same color, maybe not quite as bright. So we'll go with a highlight color. Now I turn vector to on, so I'm only drawing on the mountain. Okay? And now this is where the fun starts. You can put gradient on too. Gradient kind of looks nice with this as well. You don't have to, but it's nice. This is where the scribbling starts. Now, let's say the light is coming from this side. Okay? That's my light direction. Okay? So I'm going to, all I have to do, now let me show you what I saw people typically doing with, hey Susan, hello darling. Here's a lot of the result that I saw the first time that I showed this technique. A lot of people they'd come in, they'd scribble, but they were doing this kind of stuff. It was loopy. Either that or they had simplify set too high. So this is the kind of technique I saw, which really didn't strike me as very realistic looking. That doesn't look like a mountain kind of texture. And I think what was happening, like I said, either I think simplify was set too high. You have to keep that low so you get a lot of detail. I wouldn't set it any higher than 2. And don't be afraid to zoom in. And again, I'll say it again, you want talcum powder on your stylus. You don't want a rubber tip dragging on the surface at all. It's going to slow you right down. So you start up at the top and just start scribbling in the general direction of downhill. No curves at all. Cross back and forth over your line a lot, because that's going to give you a lot of texture. And come back where you started. That's what you want to do. Cross over your line a lot. That's what gives you the texture. Okay? See the way that... Yeah, I really love using the baby powder. So the whole thing, now I zoomed way in, and that's great because then you get a lot of detail. If you're zoomed out too much, you can't, the movement of the stylus is going to take up, I'm not sure how to explain this. It's just, you get more texture if you zoom in. Yep, come back to where you started. So you always hit the highlights and scribble. Just don't worry about it. Just go downhill, because that's what mountains do. They go downhill. So keep your scribbling generally up and down, like following the lay of the land. Keep in mind where your light source is. Mostly up and down. And see, you get this great rocky texture. No, the baby powder really isn't that messy. It's really not bad. Usually what I do, Sarah, is I'll get a lot of it on the tip, and then I'll just tap it on a piece of cloth, just to get the excess off. Excuse me. And with the gradient on, you can see it has that cool effect. I'll turn gradient off so you can see the difference. We'll come down here and do this one. This is much more solid. Maybe it's better for demonstrating, actually. And you can go over here, you can, you don't have to stay directly up and down, but just go all over. Just don't try to do too big an area. Over this way, but cross that line a lot. Cross back and forth over your lines. That's where you're going to get your texture from. Okay? Good. So that's the difference between having gradient on and not. So you can take your pick. And let's say you don't use gradient. You can always choose the mountain color. Go back to your mountain color. Go into gradient. And you can add the shadowing later. See? You can always synthesize the same thing later. I are sniffly. That's how I do the mountain texture. And you can start in the middle. You don't have to start up at the top necessarily. You can start down here. And you get big sweeping gestures, really. But just make sure you cross over your lines a lot. Come over this way maybe. Up here, back down. See the way this works? Does this make sense? Anybody got any questions about this? If you don't want a lot of detail, you can leave, you can leave this without all the holes in it if you want. So I hope this answers some of the questions and gets more detail in. The farther out you're zoomed and you're trying to do this, yes, you can cover bigger areas, but you can't really get the same level of detail necessarily. It really helps to zoom in. It's a great way to get this texture. Just cross over your lines, okay? Are you guys acting up? You guys like throwing spitwads and stuff? I thought I left a memo, no spitwads. And you would do the same thing with, like, I'll use the sky color as the shadow side. I'll go a little bit darker with it. And you can use that on the other side to do the shadow side of the mountain, but you still get the same general effect. Cross over your line and just scribble. Who cares where the line goes? Who cares? Just mainly follow this. Follow the slope of the hill. That's what you're doing, is going up and down the mountain. Okay? If you go across, if you go like off in this direction, it's not going to make sense. That's not the way the mountain lies. It goes this way, in that direction right there. So yeah, so a lot of times the sky color makes a very nice shadow color, but you have to darken it. See, and you can, and it goes along very quickly. Very quick technique. Just up and down the mountain. Just go up and down. So isn't that cool? Very cool, huh? Yeah, go ahead, V. Whatever. I usually just keep an empty milk jug over here on my side so I don't have to take a break. Anyway, so that's the mountain texture. That's the thing that I saw giving people a hard time. Let us move on. Okay, we don't need that. We don't need that. Another technique to get the shale. It's the same thing. Let me clear this layer. We don't need that. Same technique though. I'll show you how to do the shale. We pick another, like a dirt color, or we'll go with gray. A medium gray. Maybe a little darker. And that has to be solid because you want the shape of the mountain. So, okay, well, that has I have Indian music in my head. Yes, we did. We crashed. Yep. So, okay. Alright, we still got our background color, and I'm there. I got vector on over. So, okay, let's draw just a shape, anything. It doesn't matter. I don't really care what the shape is. So now we're going to make this look a little more like shale. So the direction, I'll just go with a highlight color, it doesn't matter what it is. And I'll put this on, so we're only drawing on the, and now the direction is across. We go this way. But again, just scribble. Don't worry about where it's going necessarily. Up the side a little bit. And I'm using the same kind of direction that I would get for, see? For where the light source was before. I'm thinking in those terms. So you just kind of cut in and out, lots of shadows, cross your lines, cross over that line a lot. Make sure you don't kill all the dark or the light. You don't want either one to necessarily. So you just come back up. You come out, make a shape, make it bigger if you want, but just follow your line back up and finish where you started. And that's how you get the shale. Alright? It's the same basic technique. I'm not going to go into a lot of trying to get this finished. But you can, you know, just wander. You're wandering with it. You're not worrying. I'm not trying to say, well, this part goes here and this part needs to go here. Let it go. Let it go. Nature doesn't work like that. You don't have to work like that. And you can always come back in and do the shading later. So that's how the shale technique works. Vector rocks. Vector just, well, rocks, yeah. So let's see what else we got here. Trees. Let's do trees. Let's clear that. Now we'll do a tree. I'll just use black. And by the way, I hate drawing trees. I hate this part. Gradient stays on off. I hate this. Because my trees always tend to look contrived. I have to work at them, and I don't really want to take the time to do that. So, okay, so there's... I hate this. So we get a little wider as we come back down. Alright, that'll have to do. I'm not going any more than that. Well, they may come out good, but not easily. So this is the same technique. Let's pick a bark color. We'll go with, you know, a brown. The light is still coming from the same side. You can put gradient on or off, either one. I tend to like it on. You only want to draw on the tree, right? This is the same technique, yep. And this time you're going up and down. Just up and down. Same thing. Cross your lines a lot. End up where you start. Let me turn the gradient off. Because you can always shadow. So cross over your lines. Go back down. Go back over your line. And again, you know, like I'm trying to demonstrate the technique without, I don't care about a finished piece here. This is just how you do it. That's all I care, is that you get the idea. So you can see you can get kind of a nice tree bark. Okay? It is easy. This isn't hard at all. It's scribbling. It's scribbling. You know? It's not hard. It will work itself out for you. You know? Look, I mean, and if you don't like it, you come in, you choose the background color and scribble back over. You can go back and forth between these and it'll correct itself. See how you can, it's so convincing. This isn't hard stuff. This is what I tried to emphasize before, is that this stuff doesn't have to be difficult at all. It's just scribbling. So that's how you get a tree bark. So you can see we've done in the water. I already showed you how to do the water. You just kind of do little smiley face moves to get the water technique. So that's how I did that. No, you're right. Yeah, it's like V said. You can't overthink it. Let it go, especially when you're talking about nature. Nope. You got to let it go, CB. You got to let go of trying to have it come out a specific way. Yeah, I got to wrap this up pretty soon. I got to keep it to about an hour. This isn't a long class. As far as the vines go, let's do the vines really quickly. Because there's no real shading on those. I'll come up and do this. We'll just start with a nice green gradient there. Okay, we got everything that's on over. So, alright, so here's how you do a vine. You do just a basic vine shape, come back up, try to keep it skinny, right? Maybe do another one, right? A little piece that hangs off there, a little one here. And you're going to put leaves over this, so don't worry, like with that, it got fat right there. Who cares? Who cares? Let it go. This technique is just little circles. All I'm doing is using circles, and that's all I'm doing, is that technique right there. I'm going to use gradient because it tends to look nicer. And it goes quickly. I don't really care about it. They don't have to look like specific shaped leaves. That's not the point. The point is that you're making little things, just things. And you make a few and take away a few, and see, that's what I'm telling you guys. If you want, go watch Viking. Watch how he uses it. He'll apply this in different ways than I do. And if you want to see it done with the smooth tool, go watch Madman. When he starts a picture, he'll do a blob, and this beautiful thing emerges from this seemingly incoherent shape. So this is how you do a nice vine. And you can put flowers on the vine the same way, or fruits, or whatever. To me, alright, a little philosophical thing here. I appreciate realism. Photorealism, it's amazing. Gridding and getting it dead on so you think, oh my God, that looks just like a photograph. That's great. I don't do that. I think art is more about interpretation rather than replication. That's just my own thinking. I can certainly appreciate a technically excellent piece, but that's not generally what I go for. I tend to like expressive. I tend to like things that are more suggestive, more, like a painting kind of thing. So you do little clusters of yellow, So there you go. You have a nice vine with some little flowers on it. So it's a pretty versatile technique, and it's just, the point is to let go of having every one of these to look right. And when you can let go of that, you get imperfect perfection. Oh, I love photorealism. It's just that I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to tax myself out like that. So that's how you do the vine technique. I'll show you another one, because I like this one. I love that picture. This is a background that I did for Popular Girl. I liked her characters, so I said, let me do a background for you really quick. And what I want to show you, you can see the shale look, the mountainside. One thing that I forgot to show you about the shale. I think I can wrap this up really quickly. I use vector and on mode. Let me just use black. I know. Alright, so let's say I do that. Okay, and that's the side of the cliff. Well, I put my shale in when I use on, and I'll use a highlight color, doesn't matter what it is, and I'll, do the scribble technique like I showed you. Do this really quickly. Alright, so you have the basic, look, but the edge doesn't look right. You use the same technique, you put it on erase. You use the same technique along the edge. Just cut in. Just cut in and scribble along that edge. Scribbling, back and forth. Don't care where it comes out. That's how you get better detail. That's how you can make things happen. You know, cut in here and cut in there, but you're just using the same general direction. Scribbling has to do more with the direction of the scribbling. Okay, so that's how I got the edge of the cliff in that one. Just by cutting it up like that. Okay, so the other thing I wanted to show you, it's really finally, this is, you don't need to, I did the tree leaves in here. That's all scribbling. The tree leaves are. Just goofing around with that. Here's how I want to show you how to do this really quickly, how to do the grassy texture. Go in, pick a nice green. This is how I did the grass. Gradient off. Put it on over. You have to think in terms of how does grass grow? It grows up, it grows over, it grows this way, it grows that way. Maybe there's like a thing right here. But again, it's all the direction that you're scribbling. That's where it really comes out. You can even cut back across a little bit. You got to think individual. I'm doing a group of individual little scribblings here. It's the same technique that we used with the boat. The same technique. And you go back in and add a few more. You know what I mean? Just take a second pass at it. And you can get quite a convincing little grassy area that way. So that's how I did the grass. And then you go back in, you can put some flowers in. Just let go of having to always have it make sense. Okay? You just have to think in terms like grass grows up, you know what I mean? So that's where that's the direction of your scribbling for the most part, is in an upward direction. Alright, so let's say that in itself, alright, that doesn't look very convincing. Well, it's just the first pass. You do it again. You put more stuff in there. You put maybe a little few leaves that go out like this instead. Okay? That's pretty much it, guys. That's pretty much the whole class right there. It wasn't going to be a very long class, but that's the gentle art of scribbling. That's how I get the techniques that I do, and I keep it loose, I keep it fast, I keep baby powder on that talc, or talc on the tip of the thing, and that's it. I mean, you can get some great results by just letting go. Let go. Alright? You guys got any questions about anything? Like I said, I use, and you can use this, try it with other tools. Try it with other tools. It doesn't have to be vector. Okay? Excuse me. It doesn't have to be vector. It can be any number of tools that you can try. Experiment. Alright? So that's it, boys and girls, ladies and gents. That is, yeah, we're not going into that. That is the gentle art of scribbling, boys and girls. You can do abstracts, you can do landscaping. No, you know how I got to this, CB? I started doing this, aw, Sabrina. No, I just finished it up. I did this because I love Bob Ross. I love watching Bob Ross. And his technique specifically, what got this, is because he has that palette knife thing where he does the texture on the mountains. And it's so hard to find something that replicates the palette knife and gets those random little details in there. And I found Vector does it very nicely with the scribbling. So, yep, happy little trees and stuff. But it was specifically the technique that he used on the mountains that got me to discover this. So there you go. That's it, boys and girls. The gentle art of scribbling. You can get a lot of great texture out of it. I hope you enjoyed the class. Stop by and see me in my streams. Stop in and watch Madman work. Watch Viking work, or V, or whatever name he chooses at the moment. Alright? Thank you very much, Susan.